Hello, this is Instructor Williams. I am the Technology Instructor for the Antioch Public Library District. I would like to welcome you today to our Antioch Public Library YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to go over Microsoft Word 2016 Basics, Part 1. Objectives. Today we will look over the ribbon, we will look over the tabs, we will look over the groups, we will explore the Backstage view, and Microsoft Word 2016. The ribbon. In Microsoft Word, and in all the other Microsoft Office programs, the top of the screen has what is known as a ribbon. The ribbon contains all of the commands you'll need in order to perform common tasks. And we can see here that the ribbon along the top here is broken up into smaller sections known as groups. At the very top we can see that the Home tab is selected, and the groups inside the Home tab are Clipboard, Font, Paragraph, Styles, and Editing. This allows us to have quick commands available to us to change different categories. So Clipboard will deal with copying and pasting text in the Word document. Font will deal with how the text looks, giving size, thickness, color, outlines. Paragraph will deal with how a group of text looks. Styles deals with formatting presentation. And at the very end, Editing deals with fine-tuning. The next tab we have is the Insert tab, right next to the Home tab. And if we click on the Insert tab, we see that the entire ribbon changes. And everything in the Insert ribbon deals with inserting something into the document. We have a Pages group where you can add a cover page, you can add a blank page, you can even add a page break. We have Tables, so if you wanted to put together a table in your document, you can insert a table. We have Illustrations, and this deals with inserting images into the document. You can do pictures that you have on file on your computer. You can look for pictures online. You can enter shapes. You can enter smart art. You can even enter charts from Excel files and do screenshots. Add-ins are things that we can insert from different external media like the Microsoft Store and Wikipedia. We can insert online videos through the media group. Links, we can create hyperlinks in our document, so if somebody is reading this on a computer, they can click the hyperlink and it will take them to the website. We can do cross-references if we're going to reference something earlier or later in the document. Comments allows us to insert comments for when we go back to do editing. We can make notes to self, or others can make notes to us. We have the header and footer group, and this allows us to enter in titles or footnotes or even page numbers at the top and at the bottom of the document. Then we have a text group, which allows us to insert text apart from the paragraph body. So we can enter a text box, we can enter in quick parts, we can enter in word art, you can even do a signature line, enter the date and time, and other objects. And then we have symbols, where we can enter in equations and special symbols. Our next tab is called the Design tab. If we come to the Design tab, we can see once again the ribbon changes again. And the Design tab deals with designing the document. And we can choose different themes. And we can choose document formatting, how it's going to look. And we can see all these samples here. We can choose what color the document is going to be. We can choose what kind of fonts we're going to use. We can determine paragraph spacing, different types of effects, setting things as a default. So if we want to come back to a particular document format over and over again, we can select it in this area here, set it as the default, so when we open up Microsoft Word, it will be set to that setting. And we can also adjust page background. We can add a watermark for copyright purposes. We can change the page color. We can even add page borders. And then we have the Layout tab, and this tab deals with how the document ends up looking. So here in the Page Setup group, we can adjust the margins. I can come here and I can do normal margins, which are 1 inch all around. I can do narrow margins, which are 1/2 inch all around. I can do moderate. I can do wide margins. I can do mirrored margins. And I can do the Office default. In addition to margins, I can determine the orientation. I can choose to have the page being portrait, which is long side going up and down, or I can choose to have it as landscape, which is long side going left and right. I might want to use portrait if I'm writing a paper or writing a book. And I might want to use landscape if I'm making up a certificate for someone or some sort of document that will be on display. I can choose my page sizes. Standard is 8.5 by 11, but if you're writing a novel and the paperback trade is 6 by 9, then you can set your page sizes to be 6 by 9 so that your words fit in that proper formatting. I can add columns, so if I'm writing an article or if I'm producing a magazine or a newspaper, I can insert columns in and split the page up into different sections. I can insert page and section breaks, I can insert line numbers, and I can even bring in hyphenations. In the paragraph group, I can choose how the indent is going to happen. I can indent to the left, and I can choose in inches how far in it's going to go. And I can even choose a right indent. So how far from the right of the document is it going to indent? I can deal with spacing. Before a line, how many points of spacing happen before the line, above it, or after the line, how many spaces are going to happen after I hit enter. Then I have the arrange group, and this allows me to arrange images and text boxes that are inside the document, and I can move them around. I can put them under the text, I can put them over the text, I can make the text work around it. So I have a lot of options in laying out the document for visual purposes. Then our next tab is the References tab, and this gives us access to the different things that we would reference if we're writing term paper, if we're writing a document for publication. So here it gives us the option to set in a table of contents. So we have a table of contents group. We can add the text, we can update a table for it. We have a footnotes section, so if we're going to be putting footnotes into our document with references and citations, we can put them in as footnotes. Then we have citations and bibliography, where we can insert the citation. We can choose the style of the document. APA is pretty standard, but then they also have these other ones. We have the Chicago style. We have Ghost. We have Harvard Anglia, numeric references, Turabian. So we have plenty of different formats that we can choose from for our citations and bibliography, depending on the requirements of what we're writing. We can insert captions, and this allows us to put labels on our pictures. So if I put a picture into my document, I can insert a caption, and then underneath it you can see it says Figure 2 Fountain. And then I can add cross-references to those if I want. And then I have an index function where I can mark an entry and insert an index reference to it. And finally, a table of authorities where I can mark a citation and I can insert a table of authorities related to that citation or related to that image. Our next tab is Mailings. And in the Mailings ribbon, we can see it changes once again. We have the groups Create, Start Mail Merge, Write and Insert Fields, Preview Results, and Finish. So create, I can create an envelope to go with the document, or I can create labels. Mail merge is really handy, where if I have an email list, I can personalize the document to each person by taking their email information that's in a spreadsheet and merge it into here so that it automatically pops in their name or their email address or whatever the heading is. It allows me to write the same letter and then change crucial details to make it personalized to each recipient. And then I can select the recipients. I have the write and insert fields, and with this allows me to highlight merge fields, make address blocks, do a greeting line, insert a merge field, and then I have my preview results where I can find the recipient, I can look for errors, I can look at the overall results, and then I can finish the project and merge it. The next tab is the Review tab, and this deals more with the fine-tuning of the final product. So I have the proofing group that allows me to do spelling and grammar checks. I can utilize the thesaurus, which will let me bring in related words that have a similar meaning. I can do a word count. If I'm writing an article and the restriction is 500 words, then I can employ the word count and know that if I'm over or under. I can do smart lookup. I can do language translations. This is going to be really good for maybe one word or two word translations. It's not going to be good for whole document translations. Comments. We can add comments. So if I'm going to give this document to an editor, the editor can use the comments function to recommend suggested changes or thoughts on how to clarify things, and then send it back to us and we can look at those comments. We have a tracking group, so that if I write an original document, and then as I go through and I edit it, I can track those so that it shows the markup, so it shows things that I need to come back to, any changes I need to make. For the changes, if I or an editor make a comment or a recommendation of changing, it'll show up in the margins over here saying recommend change this to a comma, recommend change this to a period. And then I, as the final editor or the final decision maker, can choose to accept those changes or reject those changes. Compare. This allows me to compare two documents and see the differences between them. And then protect. This allows me to restrict other people from actually editing my document. If I'm doing a collaborative work, but I'm the one that's actually writing the document, I can restrict that to where the other people can only make comments or only make suggestions, but they can't actually edit or change the document. And then finally is the View tab. And the View tab allows us to look at the document. We can come to the View group, and we can do Read mode, where it shows us just the document that we'd be reading. Print layout. So this is the format that it's going to look like in print. So this is a facsimile of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. We could do a web layout so we know what it would look like if we're writing for a blog post. We can do outline formats if we're looking at organizing things before we do a final production. We can do draft format. And then under the show, we can show some of the functions. For example, I can choose to show grid lines. And this would be helpful if I'm doing a mathematical equation or if I'm doing vector graphs. And I can also show the ruler so that I can check my margins, I can check the paper size, see that everything's formatted properly. I have the zoom function. This allows me to zoom in and zoom out of the page, and I can choose 200%, 100%, 75, and I can also do some custom zooming. Right now this is 100%. I can choose to have it viewed as one page, as multiple pages, or view it according to page width. Go back to one page, and then window. This allows me to set things up in different windows so I can look at different parts of the document at the same time. And then I can arrange those windows, I can stack them, or I can split the windows so I can see two sections of the document at the same time. And I can move the windows around, which one's going to be on top. And then I can set macros, which is part of the more advanced coursework. So those are the major tabs in Microsoft Word 2016. And like we said earlier, these tabs affect what shows up on the ribbon. The Home tab is kind of your jack of all trades tab. It has a little bit of everything. So it has a little bit of editing right here and right here. Has a little bit of visual, font and paragraph, how the text looks, and it has a little bit of document layout. A little bit, but not much. To have more options in each section, then you would want to go onto the different tabs. If I really wanted to tweak the layout of the page and the settings, I would come to the Layout tab and move things around and tweak things the way that I would want. And then that takes us to the very last tab, or actually the very first, which is the File tab. And this is also known as the Backstage view. So when I click on the File tab, it looks like the whole document disappears and I'm given a completely different screen. The Backstage view is designed to give us information related to the entire document. So the info, so we have a left column here, and info is highlighted, and this gives us technical information about the document. Right now there's nothing in the document, so you don't see very much going on here. But under info we have the option to protect our document to prevent people from making changes. We can inspect the document to see if there are any issues that need to be addressed, and we can manage the document. The New tab would create a new blank Microsoft Word document that we could start fresh. Open would lead us to our Windows Explorer so that we could open up an existing Word document. Save and Save As saves the document. Save will be used to update the changes made to an existing document. Save As will be used to create the name of a new document. Or if I have an existing document and I make changes, but I want to keep the original, I can choose Save As, change the name of the document, so that now that I have the original document and the updated document with two different names. Print allows me to set up the print settings if I want to physically print it. And I have options where I can save it to OneNote. I can choose a printer in my network. I can choose to print all the pages or a certain cluster of pages. I can choose to print one-sided or double-sided. I can choose collated or not. I can choose landscape orientation versus portrait orientation. I can choose the letter size, the margins, so on and so forth. When it's all said and done and I'm ready to print, I would come up here and pick the number of copies that I need. Then I would simply click this big box right here on the upper left that says print, and that will send it to the printer. Sharing allows me to share the document with other people digitally. So I can share with other people. If it's saved into OneDrive, it will create a link for them that they can click on and view the document. I can email the document to them as an attachment. I can present it online, or I can post it to a blog. And then export allows me to create a PDF version of the document, which is one of the standard formats for sending a document that you do not want altered. So I can create a PDF and send that off to whatever institution is looking for it. And then finally, we have the close function, which will close out my Microsoft Word document. When I click on that, since I have a document open, it's asking if I want to save changes to that document. I can either say yes, or don't save, or cancel the command altogether. So in this instance, I'm going to click Don't Save. And if I want to close out of Word altogether, I'll come up to the upper right hand corner where this X is, and if I hover over it with my mouse, it'll turn red, and I simply click it. And that's it for the basic tour of Microsoft Word 2016. The summary of today's lesson is that we took a tour of Microsoft Word 2016. We looked at the ribbon. We looked at the different tabs, the Home tab, the Insert tab, the Design tab, Layout tab, References tab, Mailings tab, Review tab, and View tab. We also looked at the groups inside those tabs. We looked at the Backstage view, which is also the File tab. Once again, this is Instructor Williams, and I would like to thank you on behalf of the Antioch Public Library District. For more technology-related videos and other Antioch Public Library programs, be sure and click the subscribe button.